Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Hey, we're looking live at PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It is Wednesday, and we have a winner for the dinner at Stephen Orr Spurrier's Gridiron Grill.
Oh,
we will announce that here in just a second. It's Wednesday. We'll have JC here on the Titan More Hotline, and we're going to have Graham Hall from 24/7 Sports, one of the best in the business. Get his thoughts on just what he thinks going on at practice, but also what's going on with Jeremiah Smith, the #1 receiver in America that's committed to Ohio State, but seems to be on campus about every day here. So we shall see. JC?
Yeah.
You're on the Titan More Hotline. How's that feel?
Well, it's great. Can you see me though? The backlighting is
we see you fine. You got your Kenny Rogers Kenny Rogers hat on.
Kenny Rogers. Well, oh, right.
Didn't Kenny Rogers pitch for the Texas Rangers?
God, that's an old name, dude. That was when they played in outdoors. Yeah, the Rangers are first place, man. They're still in first place. I kind of like them. I kind of like them. I know you've been to a couple games over there. I watched last night, QB. I watched a little bit of the Tennis Channel. It's one of those.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, but who's on, right? Was our boy Ben Shelton, and he played a guy from Spain, Zapata Morales, and beat him in 2 sets. But guess what that means? That means that he gets to play Carlos Alcaraz from Spain, the #1 player in the world. So we'll see. Yeah, good luck. I don't know. It's kind of neat. I like Brian because Brian plays golf out here with us, and I talk to him from time to time, and he's a cool guy. But great coach for the women's tennis team. Moved on then to coach his son now full time, and he was up there in Toronto last night, and it was just kind of fun to watch. It's August, it's early August. We're getting ready for football season, and it was just something different. I had to watch it. I'm sorry,
JC. If you could see my multitasking going on right here, I have the Titan More Hotline. I have the Meldon Law Facebook Live. I got over here on another screen. I got YouTube going.
Wow.
I mean, the more you can do, JC, the more you can do. JC, by the way, Dan wants to know, was that you, since you shop at Publix like most people in the state of Florida, was that you that won the $1.5 billion over in Neptune Beach in Jacksonville?
Oh, shoot. Really? Is that where it happened?
Yeah, at a Publix in Neptune Beach, which is a little like outside of Jacksonville.
Yeah, it's right there.
$1.58 billion. Well, what would you do? I know exactly what I would do.
Okay.
I'm going to buy probably one of the nicest golf courses or clubs in America, and only people that know how to play fast golf are allowed to play.
That's a great use.
And I would still do my podcast.
Yeah. I mean, it's freedom, right? I don't know. It's amazing. You go into Publix, you hit the quick pick, right? And do you do the quick
I haven't done it. I should have done it. Maybe I would have won.
You never do the thing. Well. Here's what I think they should do with the lottery. It would be so much better if they spread out a little bit of that money to more winners. If you knew you had kind of like if you had a chance, just a little tiny chance to win like $1 million, the way they do it in Europe is that they take the money, like 1.5 billion, spread it out, many more winners, much more interest, much more fun, and much more life-changing. But now we got one ticket winning 1.5 billion, which probably turns out to be about 750 million. And so that's great for that one ticket. But think about how much more fun it would be if they spread out some of that pot to a few more lucky winners. I don't know. I
agree.
I mean, it'd just be more fun. Look, what if you went in there and you actually thought you had a chance to win, say, $2,000 or $5,000 by picking 3 numbers or something, that could really make your month much better. instead of hoping for a 1 in 300 million chance. Because a 1 in 300 million chance, Vandy has a better chance of winning 6 games than a 1 in 300 million chance. And that's still not going to probably happen. So so to me, if you just made it a little bit more interesting, more fun, spread that money out. If I knew that I could probably, or if that I did once win $2,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 because this money was spread out because I picked 3 right numbers, man, it'd be more fun. I think it'd be more. Yeah. I think it'd be better.
If that was the case, I may actually play. Brandon says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melon Law, that he's in Alaska on a work trip and it's 4 a.m., but he's listening to PodUp.
That's so wonderful.
He must be bored. He must be bored or can't sleep. One or the other.
Well, entertain him, QB. I mean, it's your job. Let's get on with it. I mean, the Gators. What do you want? I tell you, I watched.
Tony said he was waiting for you to mention the taxes on that $1.58 billion.
Oh, well, in Florida, you don't have to pay state income tax. The federal income tax bracket would be the maximum amount. I think that's in the 30% area. And, you would definitely be talking to lawyers right now, and you would be probably talking to family, and you'd be hopefully not getting into fights. But they don't get the whole $1.5 billion up front. It's less than that. It's about half. But if you spread
I think it was like $785 million. I think I saw.
Right.
That's the cash payout.
Well, that's what I just said. But I think if you spread it out over 20 some odd years,
why do that? You could take a lump sum and just be done with it. That's what
you could. But I think that they say that you actually get more of close to all of it if it's spread out over 20 years with some annuity or something. It would change your life, of course. Either way, even if you won $10 million in the Florida Lotto, and you come out of there with $5.5 million, let's say, that's life changing, obviously. So, but the Lotto is so ridiculous. We can't even do sports wagering in this state of Florida. Which, by the way, Penn Gaming sold Barstool Sports back to Barstool Sports, and now conglomerated with ESPN Bets. This is a real thing. And there's only 20 some odd states in the country that allow this to be done mobily. And there's money being left on the table by those states like this one, Florida, that don't allow this to participate on what just happened yesterday. And that's going to change over time, but it just seems like time is wasted. Football's about to start.
Okay, so we got some stuff here. Let's see. Tony says maybe the winner can pay for the swamp renovations. Maybe it's a Gator fan and he can become the head of the damn Florida Victorious. How about that?
You think you could get some players then? Listen,
Daniel says, who cares about the $1.58 billion? Who won the dinner with Shane?
There you go.
So the dinner with me, we don't know when that is. I guess they have to work it around the winner's schedule and my schedule. I had nothing to do with this. My management team who runs this podcast, they drew out of the hopper. The winner is Carrie Starling. Carrie Starling. And I don't know if they have a certain time to call in or email to accept it. Maybe they don't want to do the dinner, but Carrie Starling is your winner. We've had a bunch of people send text messages about the shirts, the Scary Money Don't Make Money. I do have a bunch in stock. I don't have to check your sizes, but if you're interested, email podupwithshane@gmail.com. podupwithshane@gmail.com. All right. On YouTube, JC, Ron wants to know, what the hell's the Rose Bowl going to do?
Yeah. Well, they're going to be part of the playoff, right? They're going to be a rotating partner of that 12.
No. I think he's referring to how the Pac-12 and the Big Ten are one conference now, pretty much.
It's all done. I mean, there's not going to be that matchup anymore after this year. I don't think. I think actually, I want to say that last year between Penn State and Utah was the last time those affiliated conferences will play that game. The Rose Bowl will host a semifinal this year. So that is taking the Pac-10. Yeah, in fact, I am positive of that. The Utah-Penn State game last year was the last time those two conferences would meet in the Rose Bowl. This year, the Rose Bowl is going to be a semifinal host. Next year, when we get into 2024 and the 12-team playoff, we're going to have the Rose Bowl be part of that rotation for quarterfinal games and so forth, and eventually maybe the final game. but that's what's going to happen to the Rose Bowl. So it will give you a chance to go out there with the possibility of maybe one of your favorite teams playing. And I loved it when I went in 2009 to watch Alabama beat Texas, because that otherwise wouldn't have happened without the way college football is changing. And the way college football is changing today is happening so quickly that I think a lot of people are uncertain of what to do. You know, Greg Sankey was on Feinbaum yesterday, said a lot of things, but nothing really different. And so I think that they're trying to figure out what to do going forward in 24 and on. You're still going to watch it, QB. I'm still going to watch it. Whether you agree or disagree with how college football is taking form right now, doesn't matter. You're still going to watch it.
Yeah. Tatum, our text line from Josh, Mississippi says, do you think it's realistic that Graham Mertz throws for 3,300 to 3,500 yards and 30 total touchdowns this season? I mean, it's possible. I mean, that'd be a good year. But yeah, I could see that happening. I'm not thinking I don't know if it will. Jason from Pensacola says, I wonder if JC would have hit that $1 billion ticket if he would still push for his socialist lottery system. Laugh out loud.
Well, I mean, you don't have to play it. You can if you want to, but 300 million to 1, take your chances, I guess. It's your money. It's your money.
Here's Chris from Mayaca. He says, speaking of tennis, have you noticed that they will not display the Russian flag at the players from Russia?
Or Belarus.
He also said it'd be interesting to see how much tax revenue is made from national lotto games.
Belarus is also included in that ban. Look, they don't want they're protesting the war on Ukraine. Belarus has probably the best women's player currently going right now, coming from her country. It's hard, man. You should watch this thing on Netflix if you like tennis, called Breakpoint. It's a documentary. It shows you the inside. It's an inside look on professional tennis and what these athletes do and how they live. And I like it. I like it a lot. What are you laughing at? You don't give a damn about what I'm saying. What are you laughing at?
I don't even know what you were saying. I was laughing at Nora here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, says, second place is dinner with JC at Max Drive-In Burgers off North Main Street in Gainesville.
How would we do it on a drive-in? We got to sit somewhere. Second place might be. Hey, listen, you might like second place at the burger joint with JC. You might like it. Don't diss it. You might like it.
Daryl says on Facebook, excuse me, this is the Titan. I got so many Titan MR hotlines,
control,
text lines. Daryl says if he had won the lottery, he would take care of my family and build a house on the St. Johns River and build the Clay Blue Devils an indoor practice facility.
You'd be giving Clay County a lot more than just an indoor practice facility. You probably would buy him a whole new school. That's great. Great stuff.
It would be the Darrell High School, Blue Devils.
But it's Blue Devil country, baby. It's Blue Devil country. You know, Darrell's been with us since we were doing the radio morning drive show. All the way back.
That means Darrell's bored as hell.
He likes you, QB.
He likes to sit on the back porch over at the St. Johns River.
Daryl likes. He wants to tell you about his
and listen to our program.
He wants to tell you about his fishing stories. That's what
right.
Really gets into.
Ruse Over State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Speaking with JC on the Titan MR Hotline, we'll have Graham Hall from 24/7 Sports, second portion of today's program. Get your questions for Graham. What are you going to say, JC?
I want to know where that burger drive-in joint is that the guy was talking about.
I think I know what he's talking about. He told us where it was.
All right. I know.
Hang on, let me get that address for you.
We're lighting up the audience right now.
It's North Main Street.
Oh,
Max Drive-In Burgers.
Love going down to Main Street. Sure thing.
I don't know when the last time I went on Main Street.
I went by.
It's probably been a year or two.
Yeah, it's bro. It's the other side of town. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well.
All right. Let me see if there's anything. I got all kinds of questions going on here. Josh wants to know. This is on YouTube. What would you do if Florida and Bama finished with regular season both at 9-3, JC?
Oh, come on, Josh. What would I do? I would first of all be worried about our football program up at Alabama. 9-3 just ain't cutting it. Now 9-3 may be fun for everybody in Florida, That ain't fun for the folks at Alabama. I can promise you that. They'll raise hell. But that ain't happening. I mean, it could, I guess, but I'm betting against that. I'm betting against that. Look, if you think Alabama's going 9-3, bet under 9.5, and let's see how far your money goes. We'll see.
North says that's the best burger joint in Gainesville.
Okay,
so go check it out.
I mean, let's check it out. Let's go.
Yeah, and they're talking about these high school stadiums that spend $35 million out in Texas. Yeah, they're all phenomenal. Nobody in the state of Florida has anything worth a damn when it comes to high school.
That is mostly funded locally by Texas, and the stadium in McKinney, Texas, which hosts the 3 high schools there, McKinney Boyd and McKinney High School and another one, that was funded by a $60 million municipal bond, basically, taxes. And
they care about sport. They care about high school athletics out there.
They don't have a problem with it, and that's why they have it. We over here choose to spend our money on other things. When was the last time Milton Lewis Stadium over there on Waldo Road got any kind of upgrade?
Don't even compare that to anything.
I'm just saying. I'm using it
especially in this county.
I'm using it as an example of where priorities lie regarding where you live.
Yeah.
And for instance, Marion County, you drive the car where our old friend Buddy Martin lives down there in Marion County. If you drive south on 75, the first thing you see are distribution centers off the side of the road. That's called business.
Well, I've said many times.
We got
restaurants. I love living where I live. But if I would have known about, and it sounds silly, but just about the care of high school and youth athletics across this county, I would have never lived here.
And you know what's ironic about that, QB? The FHSAA
is here.
Is in Gainesville.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. John says on Facebook Live, have y'all watched the Johnny Manziel story on Netflix? I have not. I do not have Netflix, but I've heard it's incredible. He tried to take his life, but the gun didn't malfunction or something.
You should get it, QB. $20 a month. You'd enjoy it.
I don't have the patience to sit down and watch it. But have you seen the Johnny Manziel documentary?
No, that's something I'm going to watch though, because to me, and I will say this because I'm qualified to say this because I saw the greatest game he ever played, the game that won him the Heisman Trophy, and the game that made me think he was the best college football quarterback I had ever seen in my life. And that was in 2014 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, when they upset Alabama. But that player, to me, was the best college football quarterback I had ever seen in my life. Throwing the ball, running the ball, whatever it is, the threat on the field was none. There's been nobody like. Don't give me this Tommy Frazier run the option in '95 behind a bunch of NFL players. That's a much different. Tommy Frazier didn't throw the football. Last time I checked, the quarterback has 2 roles. He runs and he throws. Johnny Manziel could do both, and he was accurate. You think Mike Evans would have got drafted where he did without Johnny Manziel tossing him these passes? Man, he was unbelievable. And I tell you, Kevin Sumlin's record, just as good as John James Fisher, and they paid him a lot less money. So you have to really wonder about what Texas A&M's all about over there. But it's not winning football right now. And Johnny Manziel, to me, flat out best quarterback I ever seen. QB, would you argue that Johnny Manziel was one of the top 3 best quarterbacks you ever saw play?
Yeah, he was phenomenal.
Oh,
he was ridiculous.
Unbelievable how good he was.
All right, JC, it's time for our Peachland Dental. Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. We're going to pick. It's playoffs now. There's only so many players. Do they do cuts in this or no?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you lose, I'm talking
about. I don't know if they cut because of the playoffs because they only have, I think, 70 players playing in this event. It's St. Jude Classic, hosted by FedEx up in Memphis.
But to get to the BMW championships, you have to finish a certain.
Well, I think they go like now to the top 30 or something like that. I just don't know if they're going to cut after Friday's round. I can't remember how it works.
Okay.
So let me get my notebook out here, and JC, we'll let you have the first pick. I think I won last week because I had Billy Horschel. He finished higher than anybody else.
You did. Justin Thomas didn't quite make it. It's amazing. He did not qualify for the playoffs. He still has the ability to play on the Ryder Cup team, but that's up to Zach Johnson. I think Zach Johnson is absolutely going to take who won the British Open just recently? Help me, QB. The British Open.
Huh?
Who won?
The British Open was won by Brian Harman.
Okay, I believe Zach Johnson. Brian Harman is possibly going to be a pick from Zach Johnson's captain's pick. But I don't know about Justin Thomas. That's who I've been talking about here for the last 2 minutes. All right, I'm going to take. I think it's time for the cream to rise here. And John Rahm, I haven't picked him here recently. I love the way he played the last time out. I'm taking John Rahm.
All right, you're going to take John Rahm. I'm going to go with Victor Hovland.
Yeah, I mean this tournament in Memphis. This is the only way you could have gotten these players to play that course in Memphis, even though I don't know if it's the same course or not, but nobody showed up to the St. Jude before. Now they're all over it. And I think that's a good thing. That's a great cause. Okay, I'm going to take a guy that we don't ever talk about, but he kind of sneaks in there and out. His name is Harris English. I'm going to take him on this course. He's played this course
Bulldog.
What? And by the way, are the Georgia Bulldogs everywhere on tour? I mean, last week, Brian Harman, my goodness, Sepp Straka, they are everywhere. And why don't they ever win the national championship?
Tony says there's no cuts this week. I appreciate you, Tony, letting us know that. I'm gonna go back with my favorite golfer on tour, Ju Young Kim.
He really is your favorite golfer. I mean, you keep.
I don't think he's turned 21 yet. He's still like he has to have people like driving around and.
Yeah, Kimmy, you pretty much got it pretty simplified in your world of golf pickers. You've got a pool of 5 golfers.
Well, let me tell you something. Well, you do too, but let me tell you something. In this event right here, I guarantee if you took this trio, you would do pretty well. Just listen to me. Ju Young Kim. I'm scrolling through. Ben An.
Oh, the Koreans.
Sun Jae-im and Siwoo Kim. I bet you somebody out of that foursome from the South Koreans will be in the top 10.
They do. They are.
They can golf their ball.
They are very consistent. There's no arguing that at all.
All right, so who's your third pick? Where people are logging off because you're wasting time.
I'm wasting time. Jordan Spieth.
Jordan Spieth.
Yeah, Jordan Spieth, John Rahm, and who did I just pick? John Rahm.
You have Harris English, John Rahm, and Spieth.
That's it.
I'm going to add to my squad.
Do we pick 3 or 4?
Yeah, you already got 3. Huh.
Let's pick one more. Let's go 4. I got one more player.
I'm going to go with Tommy Fleetwood. He's been playing pretty good.
The guy can't putt, dude. All
right, pick one more.
All right, one more. I'm taking Jason Day.
Jason Day.
I got to get Jason Day in there. Like him.
All right, I'm going to take Morikawa.
All right, Colin. Yeah.
All right, that's our Peachland Dental golf picks for the FedEx St. Jude Classic.
And pretty soon the Peachland Dental picks are going to include football games, teams soon. About 3-4 more weeks. How many days, QB?
That ain't that damn long, JC. How about 21 days?
3 weeks, 21 days. In 3 weeks, 21 days, I'll be on Delta Airlines going to Salt Lake City.
Norris says here on Facebook Live, I saw this. I meant to mention it earlier. JC has now got a neighbor, a guy named Nick Saban, who purchased a Jupiter Island home at $17.5 million.
Yeah. I don't know. Where was that?
In Jupiter Island. He's down there with Tiger and
that's too far south. I'm a St. Augustine, St. Johns County guy.
You have a $17.5 million mansion at Crescent Beach.
Yeah, right. I don't think we have any of those, and we don't need them. By God, we have a good run of it. Yeah, QB, what was it that Buddy was saying yesterday that I have to mention? Damn it, you made me forget. I'll remember on Friday. I love watching Buddy Martin. You guys he's so old school Gator, man. He just reminds me of the good old days. But you got to kind of compartmentalize a little bit the good old days and what we're doing now and where we're going. And but it is fun.
But you know what's so interesting to me, and I didn't realize this till talking to him and some of the other old scribes.
Yeah.
That like when Charlie Pell was the head coach here.
Yeah, dude.
That after the game.
Yeah.
Charlie Pell would go back up to the press box with all the media guys, and they would drink and smoke and just tell stories.
God. Oh, it's so true. It's kind of like when Fuzzy Zeller played golf, dude. I guess things have changed, times have changed, people have changed, everything's changed. But man, those were some fun times back in the 80s. And even though there was a lot of hardship, the old Gators like the Buddy Martins of the world that are still kicking around, and God bless them, Pat Dooley, people like this, I include myself, I'm 58. We'll never forget those times. And Florida was different because Florida wasn't the team that you would expect to win in the 70s. It was the team you would hope to win that you loved to cheer for. And then came the 80s and Kerwin Bell, and then came the 90s with Steve Spurrier. It is such an amazing, I'm sure books have been written by those guys, but it's quite an evolution. And it's so different now. You've got Billy Napier, Nick Saban disciple. He runs practice like it's a machine. He's got staff that number the hundreds. It's so different now. And what I do love, though, and what I think is great, is that he's got these fans back involved and he's allowed them to go watch practice. It doesn't hurt anything to let the fans go. I really have to give Billy an applause there to get these fans engaged and get them in practice. Let them watch. These people lived and died to do this. They loved doing it when you guys were playing in the 90s. They love to do it today. Watch practice, whatever it is, and just feel like they're a part of this program, because that was taken away here in the last 20 years, and it's now coming back. But the biggest thing that he has to do is, we all know, QB's got to win football games. Got to win football games.
And I think they are. Speaking of that, we just got a text on the Titan our text line from Bubba. Bubba probably lives somewhere in Alabama or Mississippi, I bet. Bubba asked, I want to know y'all's predictions on the Gators' upcoming season. I've already told mine. Well, I'm jumping mine up to 9-3 now.
Oh my God, QB! Can you tell me one reason why? We have a friend in Texas. I told him that, and he just laughed out loud. But I want to know. He doesn't know what's going on here. You have to give me one reason. Is it the quarterback? Is it the wide receivers? Is it the offense?
I've said it multiple times on this program.
Just reiterate one big reason why you got that. One big reason.
I can't. Well, it is. It's about a talent evaluation. Okay. The best players on last year's team were handpicked and brought to this campus by Billy Napier and his staff. He's brought 53 from last year to this year. So I love the wide receivers. I love the running backs. I like the quarterback. I think they're going to be way better on defense. They're much bigger. We were so small on defense last year.
Explain to me why you feel this way and a Hall of Fame Gator feels exactly the opposite. And I don't understand.
Because who's the Hall of Fame Gator?
Chris.
Well, he also picked Kentucky to go 11-1 last year.
I'm not talking about Kentucky. I'm talking
about
Florida.
But I'm just telling you, maybe because he's everybody's basing what they saw in the spring, which means absolutely nothing. No, I'm just telling you.
Right.
I think they're going to win 8 or 9 games. And I could be dead wrong, like Dorian was picking Kentucky to go 11-1.
I don't blame you for making a call, dude. That's what your job is. You're supposed to tell folks what you think, I guess. But there has to be some objectivity to it, because you're the only guy.
I just gave you
all the
legitimate reasons.
You're the only person walking and breathing right now.
Because again, the national people
don't know.
I go back to it. Florida's won a total of 6 games each year the last 2 years.
Yeah.
They lost the 4th pick in the NFL draft at the most important position. So person, if you told somebody walking down the street that, they're going to say, "Oh, they can't be much better."
Yeah.
They have no idea.
Yeah, but but everybody knows who watches this stuff, knows who Anthony Richardson is.
No, they don't. No, because I believe
they watched him for 12 games last year.
Okay, I firmly believe, just like Jordan Rodgers, I think he does a tremendous job. He thinks Joe Milton is going to be like a first-round draft pick, and he may, but he gets enamored. He gets enamored with splash plays and how far you can throw a ball. I don't. I want to see consistent play. Let me tell you something. Would you take Joe Milton over Bryce Young or any of those quarterbacks that played at Alabama? No,
I wouldn't,
because those guys were consistent, smart, good football players. Joe Milton is a guy that looks good in shorts, and he may throw for a bunch of yards, and I could be an idiot. I don't buy it.
Well, he lost his job to Hendon Hooker.
And he lost the job to some dude in Michigan.
Right. So it's true.
So my point is, I don't care what other people out there say. For the last 2 or 3 years, I've told you if Florida won 7 games last year, it'd be a miracle.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think
They
the team
didn't.
was very good.
The miracle
I
didn't
think
happen.
this team is light years ahead of last year.
Well, I think fans will be very excited, and we're going to get that sample size 3 weeks. 3 weeks from today, brother. 21 days. 21. Mark it on.
But I'm telling you, I have not seen receivers like this in a long time at Florida.
At Florida, yeah. Well, that's good to know. That's really good to know. They got to use.
They're bigger. They're a bigger football team now, on both sides of the ball. It's just it comes down to trusting the head coach and his evaluation process. And nobody can argue who the best players on last year's team were. You can't argue that.
Right. No, I know it. Yeah, if you watched them, you would know that. QB, the problem Gator fans have with trusting is that they trusted Will Muschamp, they trusted Jim Hathaway, they trusted.
Okay, that's fine.
They trusted all these people. So
no, I get that. But my point is, we live in the world of data and analytics, correct?
I guess we do. I don't like it, but yeah.
Okay, but your eyeballs kind of tell you what you see and you believe. If you go back and you watch every game of the Gators played last year, you take notes and you tell me who the best players on the team were.
Yeah,
and then your data is going to say, damn, Billy Napier's responsible for that guy. Billy Napier's responsible for that guy. Okay. That's why I am very confident in him, because he coached under Dabo and he coached under Nick Saban, and they have that formula. And has it taken long? Is it going to take a while? I think in year 3 they'll be great. I still think they win 8 or 9 games this year.
No, you said 9. We're going up to 9 now.
I think we're going to go to 9. I'm going up to 9.
3. All right, I'm marking it down. That's pretty bold, but I like it. I like the call because I like the boldness of it. And you're the only guy I've heard say it. And so that's going to make you look really good when it happens. Or like, okay, whatever, homer.
Well, big deal. But, I mean, I told Doran, you picked Kentucky to go 11-1, and I think they won 6 games.
Well, he's got him finishing second. And I'm not trying to pick on Chris. I love what he does. He's a great analyst.
Well, he picks Kentucky every year.
He does love Kentucky. There's something about Kentucky. Maybe it has to do with the fact that he caught one of the most famous passes in Florida Gator football history.
I think he likes Stoops a lot, which I do too.
Yeah. But you know what? Yeah. Stoops isn't scoring touchdowns. And listen, they're giving Stoops all the time he needs. They gave Mike Norvell 3, 4, how many years? So here he is in year 4 now at Florida State. They're better. We all know it. And so Billy's in year 2. So somebody asked me the other day, will it take Billy 3 or 4 years to get the Gators right? I said, well, what if it takes him only 2? Sonny Dykes 1-1 at TCU. So it can happen quicker these days because of the transfer portal and because of the way college football is structured. It can happen a lot faster. It's not just recruiting anymore, right? So this is what we're talking about. And this is what you're talking
Adam
about.
says, before we get you out of here, he says Gators going to ruin a lot of these so-called experts' predictions. He thinks 9-3 too. Look, I mean, JC, like right now we're waiting on Graham Hall, but I'm telling you right now, just sit there and think for a second. Don't say a word.
Okay.
Kentucky, South Carolina, Missouri, and Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Do you think those 4 teams are better than the Florida Gators?
I don't know that. They were last year.
Okay, whether you know it or not, I'm just saying, do you think those teams are better than that?
No, I don't think consistently they are, no.
Okay, you just answered my question. McNeese State and Charlotte. I just gave you 6 games that they should pencil in as wins.
Right. Okay? And for some reason, Las Vegas, the smartest guys in America.
That's fine. 5.5. That's fine. But those people out there also to get enamored with splash plays. I'm just telling you, that's how the general public thinks. I can't tell you how many people have told me this. Y'all got to play with Graham Mertz. I'm telling you, Graham Mertz is going to be perfectly fine. Buddy even told you that Urban Meyer loved him and recruited him at Ohio State.
You've been beating this horse until it's like it turned to glue. Okay, QB, I get it. We all get it. We all hope it happens. We're going to have to wait and see, though. And no, you're right. I said on another podcast in North Carolina 2 nights ago that they have to beat those 4 teams you just mentioned to get to 7 wins. They have to. They have to beat them. And last year they beat 2 of those 4. Okay,
so which last year means nothing.
Right. So that's not going to do this year. You have to win all those games.
Yeah.
And you know what? I almost have to say you have to want what's Kentucky won 3 years in a row against Florida now. I think you got to win that game too. You got to win that game up there.
I think they will. I think they will. All right, JC, we got to get to Graham Hall, who knows a little bit more about the Gator football team than we do. Have a good day. We'll see you on Friday. That's JC. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow hotline. We'll take a quick timeout, come back, talk a little Gator football and recruiting. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Attention all Gator fans, Meldon Law is giving away a chance to experience the Florida-Georgia game like never before. 2-night stay at the Hilton on the River, dinner at Ruth Chris Steakhouse, 2 premium tickets to the game, and a football signed by Coach Billy Napier, and much more. Go to the Meldon Law Facebook page and look for the VIP experience for 2. Good luck and go Gators!
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate. Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, the hottest restaurant in Florida in the heart of Gator Nation. That's Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Don't forget the 2-year anniversary is Monday night, and the winner of the contest is Carrie Starling. We got Graham Hall. Good morning, Graham. How you doing, buddy? You're on the Titan Tomorrow hotline.
Doing well. Always great to be here, man. Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
Yeah, real quick before we jump into it, we got a Facebook Live and a YouTube. Chris and David both talk about South Carolina's better than you think. I love the Gators, but Missouri and South Carolina are supposed to be better than last year. I hope you're right. I don't see it. Okay, let me back up for a second. Everybody wants to talk about what happened last year. Okay, folks, I'm not big on what happened last year, but the Gators beat both of those teams. And the Gators are going to be better than they were last year. So, and I called South Carolina. I can't get them out of my head. They got demolished by us. I mean, embarrassed. And then I called the Gator Bowl, and they lost to Notre Dame and looked terrible. I know they beat Tennessee, and I know they beat Clemson. I don't put anything to it. I think we're better than South Carolina. My opinion. Y'all have your. All right, Graham, how you doing, buddy? What'd you think about the practice the other day? You got to stay for the whole thing and not do your little 5-minute deal.
Yeah, I was hoping that I could go up to some fans and pay them a couple bucks to film for me, because even though, we were out there, we got to commit everything to memory in a sense outside of those first 30 minutes. A lot of live action. If you were a fan, you got to see some 11-on-11, some 7v7, some stuff that we haven't had a chance to see in the first, 4 practice sessions in Gainesville. And, I've noted this, they've had to, limit access more and more in this information age, you can call it, where videos get out. And when you're a team on the cusp right now, where every little thing matters, one play is going to matter to you, you're trying to limit some of that information. So I totally get it. But fans were able to record a little bit more than we were at that open practice. And I thought that because of that environment, fans getting to see it, it was really tough to, I think, get a mix of where a lot of guys stood. They, I think, mixed around a lot of players who were in the mix for the first and second string opportunities, and obviously some injuries there. But overall, it was great to be out there. And if you were out there, you experienced the heat, and Billy Napier said it on Monday, this team needs to continue improving its conditioning, dealing with the conditions in the next, we got 22 days before Florida plays Utah. So 3 weeks to really handle the elements right now. And Florida has a little bit of work to do. Even the starting players were coming out on Monday and saying, hey, we got to keep getting in shape here, getting in ideal shape before the season. And I think that just kind of tells you how urgent this process is right now.
On YouTube, Jason says he loves the Marge Simpson hairstyle Graham's going with these days. Are you going to cut your hair at all or during the football season?
I got to, man, because I was out there pouring sweat. Shane saw me walking on the golf course, making the turn as he was about to tee off. And I think my entire shirt looked darker than it was. It was dripping in front of my eyes. I'm blaming not being able to see on some of my shots. I need a haircut. I'll be completely honest. I'm going to a wedding right before the Gators play Utah. Chastise my friend for scheduling a fall football season wedding that he's making me go out to as the best man. I think that'll be an incentive for me to get a haircut here because, man, I certainly need it. I get Bob Ross. I get Lil Dicky. What's that phrase, man? Use it or lose it. I got to have the hair before I go bald, right?
Yeah. Greg says you should be on Welcome Back Cotter. You probably don't even know what that show is.
I'm going to look.
Yeah, you got to look up Welcome Back Cotter. No doubt about it. All right, Graham. So let's just talk about this Gator team. You've gotten to see glimpses of practice. You got to see the whole practice the other day. Has anything stood out to you?
I do think Graham Mertz looks better. I think his leadership stands out. I think he's a little more athletic than maybe people were realizing. This is a team that's going to use him to roll out. Maybe I have been guilty of this in the past 8 months or whatever, because I've come on here and said Florida's going to run the football. They're going to run the football, but don't get mistaken. I mean, the Gators are going to throw the football. Florida's going to throw the football 25 times a game. They're going to use Graham Mertz's arm. They're going to wager the risk of turnovers you've seen at Wisconsin, which Billy Napier has said, listen, the quarterback gets a lot of the credit a lot of the time, but he also probably gets an unfair amount of blame. And what went wrong at Wisconsin was not all on Graham Mertz. I mean, not to say that they're the same player, but it's a lot of what went wrong with a guy like Jaden Daniels in his second and third years at Arizona State. There was just disarray around that program. You see what happens when he gets into an SEC program. I mean, he torched the Gators last season. I think Graham Mertz's best play is still ahead of him this year. I think if not potentially next year, people may forget that he also has another year of eligibility remaining. But I think that, they're going to throw the football. These freshman wide receivers, Ricky Pearsall looks fantastic. I think that the gap between Pearsall, Caleb Douglas, then Marcus Burke and the freshman is noticeable. Right now, you have a guy in Ricky Pearsall that just absolutely understands technique, footwork, the importance of it. He's, I think, a more dynamic athlete than people realize, and they're going to utilize what they have at receiver. I'm a little bit unsure of the tight end position. I think that there's still a lot of uncertainty there. You have Arliss Boardingham limited. I don't know what you got in Dante Sanders this year. And then you got a bunch of underclassmen that they're really high on, Tony Livingston, Hayden Hansen. But how much are those guys going to be able to contribute and benefit the team in the passing game? That remains to be seen. Last thing that has stood out to me, obviously, people have said this time and time again, but Austin Armstrong, man, is just a much more dynamic, animated presence in practice. And that stuff is just contagious. I know, Billy Gonzalez is as well. He's probably right below Armstrong when it comes to just energy in a practice session, but Armstrong's combination of energy, his knowledge of the game, his recruiting ability, that is a guy that is just going to continue to rise in the college football world in my mind. And I hope that Florida fans appreciate what they have in him right now. Not saying he's jumping out the door right now, but that guy continues to stand out to me as a future star in this business. And if he can turn Florida's defense, not even turn them around, but if you can have marginal improvement, I think people forget how, not to say bad, but just inconsistent at times. The lack of communication in the second and third levels really hurt this team. I think getting Corey Raymond to coach the entire secondary has stood out, getting Austin Armstrong, and then the defense, improved interior defensive line. The combination of those three is just going to lead to an all-around better defense for Florida this season. And I think you're already seeing that in camp. Yeah,
you mentioned offensively. You got some veteran type guys who've been around like Pearsall and stuff, but the freshmen, man, I mentioned this the other day on the podcast, and I got blown up by a bunch of texts. I somewhat compared them to Ike Kwesi and Riedel because the way those guys, if they turn out like that, it'd be outstanding. But they got a little wiggle to them, and they can flat out run as well. Sometimes nowadays you see these big, stiff guys who can run straight line, but they have no wiggle to them. I feel like Andy Jean, Manziel, and Wilson, these dudes can play, man. And that's why I'm high on this offense, because you got the stable of running backs. Everybody knows about the two that played last year, but the two that we brought in are pretty damn good players as well. Am I crazy? I know that comparison is crazy, but do you see any kind of comparison? You probably weren't even born when those guys played, Graham, but Ikwezi and Riedel were pretty good, by the way.
Yeah, I've heard their names before. I've done a little bit of homework, but obviously it's research it, but experiencing it and seeing there and being there and seeing those guys progress and just be a little bit different had to be something you had to experience, whether as a fan, a player, a coach. And while I'm not educated enough to make comparisons between those guys, you have freshmen that have arrived, especially Andy Jean. And I think maybe people are sleeping on Aiden Mizell. Does he need to continue improving physically? But you go back to the spring game, the guy is able to get behind the third level, the secondary, the defense. He's able to just create separation. His footwork is impressive. But what you mentioned, I think, is what stands out the most. These guys are natural athletes at the position. Not to disrespect anyone, but you go back a couple of years to when the Gators added Jamarcus Weston and Dan Mullen. I use him as reference, but Dan Mullen said that Jamarcus Weston was someone who was going to outlive his projection as a prospect because of his size and just how they viewed him. But what he lacked was route running ability and just turning that natural athleticism into on-field athleticism. He doesn't explode through his routes. His footwork wasn't fantastic. You have guys who have the size to compete right now, but also have advanced technique for where they are. Andy Jean is absolutely one of the better route running freshmen in the SEC in my mind. While I can't compare to everyone out there, I've seen what other teams have added, and I think that his footwork is just ahead of a lot of other guys out there. And Aiden Mizell's speed, he may be the fastest on the team. There's a reason those guys are they're in the pecking order to play. I think right after, like I said earlier, Ricky Pearsall, Caleb Douglas. I know he's not a freshman, but go back to what he did last year. He's back-to-back freshman that this program has added that I think is just a next guy up. Caleb Douglas looks absolutely fantastic right now in camp. I have no doubt that he is going to get an abundance of targets this season. He has improved as a vertical threat. I think his hands have improved. There were some questions about that. I haven't seen anything that makes me worry about him as being a guy who's not sure-handed right now. Those guys are going to play, but absolutely the freshmen are going to play. If you have three underclassmen, a true sophomore in Douglas and Jean and Mizell as three of your top four receivers this year, I think Marcus Burke's going to have a role as well. But I can foresee a situation where by the end of the season, those three underclassmen and the freshmen have started to become guys who can potentially start in this program as they look toward the future and understand that Ricky Pearsall has a future in the NFL. You have to start preparing for the future. And I think that's going to lead to a larger role down the line this season for guys like Jean, Mizell, and not to forget about Trey Wilson whatsoever. I just get the sense he's a little bit farther along right now, but we've seen guys like Trevor Etienne come in and make up significant ground in fall camp. The mistakes go away by the end of fall camp. And then by the start of the season, they're playing a role for this team. And Billy Napier has shown no hesitance in using underclassmen. So I expect that to be the case this season.
I agree. Buck has a question for you here, brought to you by Meldon Law on Facebook. Graham, what's your take on the safety position? He thinks that's the weakest spot on the entire roster.
That's fair to say. I think the lack of depth is something that jumps out to you right away. It's another position where freshmen are going to play in the rotation, and along with underclassmen. Right now, if you had to ask me what my money is on, I think you have RJ Moten end up starting that first snap against Utah at that strong safety spot. And I think that Miguel Mitchell starts opposite him. I think that those guys are going to end up just being the duo for the Gators. And I think Kamari Wilson is going to play a large role as well. I think he has a little bit more improvement to do than maybe some believed heading into this camp. I certainly thought he was going to emerge as a surefire starter. You add a guy in RJ Moten who has started a lot over the past two seasons at Michigan. And now I think you have a situation where that guy is going to step in and start for Florida this season. But absolutely, the lack of depth is noticeable. Jordan Castell is going to have to play. I think Bryce Thornton is going to play at safety as well this season, the true freshman, but he also is working at the star position along with Sharif Denson for the Gators. So right there, Castell, Thornton, Denson, that's 3 freshmen that I think you're going to see this season for the Gators in the secondary, because the lack of depth there is certainly noticeable. The addition of RJ Moten, I think, is one of the underrated ones for the Gators, because not often in May do you go out there in the transfer portal and add a guy who's going to start in the SEC week 1. But I think that's what Florida did.
Text on the Titan of our text line from Gary in Detroit, Michigan. He says, Graham, what are your colleagues saying about Cam Rising? Will he play?
Oh, that's a good question. We luckily, and this is where I'm going to get to make a little promo plug real quick, at 247 Sports, you can check out the entire network. If you're a Florida fan and you sign up right now for 60% off an annual membership, you can go to that Utah board and see how they are talking about Cam Rising's progression. So that gives you the best sense. The Utah writers are obviously covering it, but from what I have seen from their board, I further get the sense that Cam Rising's not going to play. And let me tell you, I think his athleticism is absolutely, in my opinion, his best weapon. He is not he doesn't have a great arm. He's really good on the intermediate throws, and he's really good escaping the pocket and just making guys miss. Coming off an ACL tear, I don't think he's going to be able to do that at a high level. At least from camp, he hasn't been doing that. Now, there are situations where they're protecting a quarterback. That happens at every program, and maybe they're not going to open it up for him in practice right now as they attempt to limit his risk for injury. I know that even going back to a guy like Anthony Richardson, who wasn't coming off a major injury, they weren't running him at a high rate in camp just to limit the chance that they lose that weapon. Maybe that is the case with Cam Rising, but everything we have heard from them is that guy is not ready to play. He is able to throw inside the pocket, but his mobility is extremely limited. And behind him, they have 3 unproven guys that are contending for the starting job. Either way you look at it, Cam Rising is splitting reps with 3 other quarterbacks because they are preparing for the distinct possibility that they start another quarterback against the Gators in 22 days. And I am more confident that Brant Keithy is able to play for them than Cam Rising right now. And, not to, again, bring this back, but during the offseason, I got a lot of flack for leaving Cam Rising off of my list of top 5 quarterbacks the Gators were going to face this season. And people took it as a slight. And I said simply, no, I'm just not confident right now in July that guy is going to be able to return in 6 weeks and play against the Gators. And I feel more and more confident that is the case right now. If he goes out there and plays and is effective against the Gators, that is going to be extremely demoralizing, because you are playing against a quarterback who, while experienced, there has to be a mental edge there where he is hesitant. And if he is effective and scrambles and tears up this defense, that is not going to be a great situation for Florida moving forward.
Last question for you. It's from Thomas on Facebook Live. He wants to know, what's the newest information on Jeremiah Smith? Any chance he's flipping?
I was prepared of all the questions for this one, honestly, because I'm gonna be straight up with you. I tried to go to bed when I can at 10:30 because I'm getting up at 6 every morning. But I woke up and got on social media and saw that there was a lot of speculation that Jeremiah Smith was going to flip his commitment last night. I saw that he kind of laughed that off. And I kind of just wanted to speak in general about the Jeremiah Smith recruitment. Kudos to this guy. And as a fan of a program, I understand why you would be annoyed, especially if you have followed recruiting for a long time and are tired of the games, tired of Florida being used for a hat on the table. You're not the only program out there that's tired of that. But let me tell you the reality of the situation, everybody. This is a guy maximizing maybe the best year of his life for him and his family, right? He has a chance to experience places, travel with his family, visit schools in abundance, be given the red carpet treatment every single week like he's a celebrity before he gets to a college program and gets extremely humbled, right? That is the reality of the situation. And right now in 2023, on August 9th, 10 days after this rule effect went into existence, it has never behooved a player like Jeremiah Smith, a top prospect, more than to get the most out of his recruitment. And he's not the only one. Guys like LJ McCray, who aren't going to commit until, October, maybe November, they are taking advantage of what the current situation is. Prospects can now take more than 5 official visits across the country. They can visit all these programs. They can't visit a place more than once, but they can go everywhere. And as an in-state guy, Jeremiah Smith is going to keep showing up at Florida, and he's going to keep talking to coaches, and they're going to look trying to keep him in state. And he's also going to take official visits elsewhere, and it's going to be hard to follow his recruitment. But it's a chance for him to get a thorough evaluation and to go on a bunch of trips at a time where prospects have never been able to go on more trips in theory. So I hope people can understand that, be a little bit patient. If Florida's coaching staff keeps recruiting him the way that they have, they're going to have a chance to flip him if that is something that he is considering. It may be that he is just enjoying his recruiting process. And in my mind, that is perfectly okay, because that is the way the situation is set up right now. We just got done talking about all this conference realignment, TV dollars, how much all these programs are going to benefit a lot more moving forward. And at the same time, it makes me think of, I want the players to benefit as much as possible while they can, whether it's through recruiting visits or NIL, before these programs get 10 times more the amount of money moving forward. And we don't know that the NIL dollars are going to follow the same trajectory. So I'm in the boat that is all for these recruits just enjoying their experience. And if Florida flips him, they ended up doing something that every other program has been trying to do, because that kid is a top-notch talent.
Yeah. Graham, you're top-notch as well, my friend. We appreciate you joining the program. Go get a haircut. We'll talk to you soon.
Well, I will. I appreciate you letting me ramble on here. Always enjoy it. Y'all take care out there.
Yep, that's Graham Hall. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Remember, Kerry Starling was the winner. We will see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.